because I'm going to continue the line of questioning by the leader of the Welsh Conservatives. Isn't it now absolutely clear why this decision has been delayed until after the general election? And what the Welsh Government has done today is actually to kill the hopes of the people of Blaenau Gwent and a much wider area. There is nothing that the Government was able to discuss this morning that couldn't have been discussed weeks ago. There's nothing new at all in this decision. The limit of the Welsh Government's obligations would be a maximum of £8 million a year for 33 years, once all the buildings on the site were constructed. It's not so the whole thing would be telescoped up front and the money would have to be found tomorrow or within the next 3 years. And therefore, what this shows is a pathetic lack of vision on the part of the Welsh Government to kill this massive private enterprise scheme, which offered not just hope to one town in Wales, but actually to the whole of South East Wales.
It's difficult to be lectured by somebody who's part of a Conservative administration who closed down the last mine, for example, Marine 6 Bells in Blaenau Gwent, and was more than happy to do so. I mean, really, I can't take what he says in that regard seriously. The reason why the decision couldn't be taken at the time he mentions is because the due diligence process hadn't finished. Or is he suggesting that decisions should be taken before all the information is ready? That is reckless, to say the least. He fails to understand what is behind this project. The jobs were in the technology park, not in the circuit. The circuit only provided jobs to the region of about 137 full-time jobs. That's it. The rest of it, the thousands of jobs, were always going to be in the technology park and beyond. And that is exactly what we're going to invest in as a government. He's also wrong to say that this is simply £8 million over the next 33 years. We know, having explored this with ONS, who would refer this to Eurostat, that there's a very high risk of this guarantee being regarded as being on the balance sheet. That means we would lose £373 million of capital funding. £157 million would have to be found this financial year. That is, schools not being built, hospitals not being modernised, houses not being built. Now, surely he has to accept that high risk cannot be ignored.
No, what we're talking about here is a bean counters convention. It is nothing new. We knew in advance of the decision being taken months and months ago what the ONS rules and the Treasury rules on how to treat long-term spending of this kind were. So this is something which could have been decided a very long time ago. Why has the Welsh Government allowed this project to limp along for 6 years when that could have been recognised right from the start? What we need to do here, surely, is to change the accounting convention rather than to destroy the hopes of those who are relying upon regenerating the whole of South East Wales. Because if it is the case that it is only the rules of the Office for National Statistics and Her Majesty's Treasury in London which has killed this project, then that is an absolute disgrace.
We can't change the rules. The rules are set by ONS. They are independent of government, and they set rules in conjunction with Eurostat, and we have to be aware of what that risk might entail. He calls it a bean counters convention. The risk is far greater than that. If we end up with £373 million on our books, that means it's capital money we cannot spend. And surely he will understand. He's been in government, surely he understands this. He will know that that is a risk that any government must take seriously. He asked the question as to why this wasn't identified before. This was part of the conditions. The conditions stipulated 50-50. The conditions haven't been met. That's why it's a problem.
All the money which is going to be provided up front to build the Circuit of Wales is private sector money. All that the Welsh Government is being asked to do is to guarantee payments which will be made to the senior bondholders for less than half the capital employed in a period which only starts when the whole site has been developed. So there are physical assets then against which the contingent liability of the government would be secured. What we have now is a proposal from the government to spend £100 million over 10 years, shed loads of money on a series of empty sheds.
No. We have already assessed the demand, spoken to businesses. We know there is a demand for premises in the heads of the valleys, and we know that there are businesses who cannot move there because the premises aren't there. So it's hugely important to make sure that we provide those premises as part of the technology park that is part, actually, of the circuit itself. The only thing in many ways that's missing is the actual racetrack. The jobs, the vast majority of the jobs, are still there. He is not being honest with himself when he says this is only about a guarantee. He knows full well that if £373 million are reprofiled so they appear on our books, we lose the money. It's the same as a cut. It means we would have to find £157 million in this financial year. The problem we have is that we have pursued this with ONS and with Eurostat and with ONS, and their answer is we cannot give you a definitive ruling until we've seen the final contracts. It's too late by then. That's the problem. So the real risk here is that we end up not moving ahead with projects in year that people have already been promised because of, yes, an accountancy device, but one nevertheless that the ONS have identified and one which carries a high risk.